Dear learners, welcome to IGNOU. You are going to lead with a difference. So how do you lead with the difference? The unique attributes of the university system through which you are going to go for the management program or any other program is the multiple entry and exit. It provides flexible learning where a learner can learn at its own will and at its own pace. It offers multimodal approaches like we have MBA, the normal through the distance learning mode and through online mode. So it has a multimodal approach. It has face-to-face counseling. It offers web counseling also. It provides continuous evaluation to enhance the skills of the learners through assignments, and it provides the opportunity for the learners to appear for the exams twice a year through term end examination system. It gives interactive satellite-aided communication network through teleconferencing, and it also gives the radio counseling also. When we talk about School of Management Studies, it was the first school and it had the pioneer program of Diploma in Management. Till date, it has been offering around 14 programs in management and 13 programs in commerce disciplines. The school has international presence as well, as it provides the programs in specific Asian and African countries across the globe. Now talking about Master of Business Administration. What are the objectives? What are the learning objectives of this Master of Business Administration? What are the unique features of this Master of Business Administration which IGNOU is offering? First of all, it revitalizes and accelerates the pace of your professional development. And how can it do it? Through this program, which is one of its kind and it has been built through the insights and knowledge of faculty and experts. The content aids in new ways of thinking. It provides exciting new opportunities, new approaches of learning. It has contemporary courses ranging from business communications to human resource management, marketing management, financial management, operations management, all sorts of courses which are required in the present times for the industry, and as per the demands of the industry, all the courses have been included in this particular program. It is a uniquely designed program for both the fresh graduates as well as the working professionals, and it is offered pan-India and also in select countries internationally. Let us see the program at a glance. The program name is MBA, and the eligibility criteria for this program is bachelor's degree, minimum of 3 years duration with at least 50% marks and 45% marks in case of the reserved category. The duration of the program is minimum 2 years and maximum 4 years, and the program fee per semester is 15,500. The structure of the program. The total credits of the program, the total credits are 116 because there is one project course which is equivalent to 2 courses. So it comes out to be 29 courses. Otherwise, technically it is 28 courses. So there are core courses, there are specializations, and there is one project work. So when we talk about the first semester, there are 7 core courses. In the second semester, we have again 7 courses. From the third semester, the specialization starts. In the third semester, you have 2 core courses, 4 specialization courses, and 1 course of project work which is equivalent to 2 courses. In the fourth semester, there are 4 core courses and 3 specialization courses. So whatever the specialization area the student takes or chooses, that particular specialization MBA is offered to the student. If a student wants to exit the program after completion of the specified courses available in the first and second semesters, that is 56 credits if the student completes, then there is an exit option available. the award of postgraduate diploma in management on the request of the student if the student wants to exit. Apart from this, there are 4 stand-alone PG diplomas also, which are a different part. They don't fall a part of the management program. They are the stand-alone diplomas. That is postgraduate diploma in human resource management, postgraduate diploma in financial management, postgraduate diploma in operations management, and postgraduate diploma in marketing management. So these are stand-alone diplomas. So the links available for the student handbook and prospectus of Master of Business Administration. So this is all about the MBA program. Happy learning. Dear learners, welcome to IGNOU. Here, we will take you towards the tour of School of Management Studies situated in IGNOU with its management program. You are going to lead with a
नमस्ते। सभी ज्ञान दर्शन के सभी दर्शकों को विशेष अभिवादन। देखिए, आज का जो विषय है योग में, वह है पीसीओडी का समाधान योग और प्राणायाम के द्वारा। तो देखिए, पीसीओडी एक तरह से आज का लाइफ स्टाइल डिजीज बन गया है, तो क्यों ना इस जो रोग है, आज ये लाइफ स्टाइल डिजीज है, इसको हम लोग आसन और प्राणायाम करके हम इसको ठीक रखें, स्वस्थ रखें। तो आइए जानते हैं कि क्या क्या अभ्यास आप करेंगे योग में और प्राणायाम में। तो इसके लिए सबसे पहले हम देखेंगे कि आपको कुछ अभ्यास जो हम यहाँ पर बताएंगे, आसन और प्राणायाम। तो छोटे अभ्यास हैं, जैसे कि एक सूक्ष्म क्रियाएं, 2 अभ्यास आपको हम बताते हैं। थोड़ा सा नेक का अभ्यास कर लेंगे पहले, इससे आप कम से कम अपने आप को तैयार कर पाएंगे। देखिए, पीसीओडी जो है ये, इसको आप पहचानेंगे कैसे कि जैसे आपके चेहरे पर बाल आ जाना, आपको समय पर पीरियड का नहीं हो पाना, या तो आपका ब्लड का बहुत ज़्यादा होना और मोटापा होना, ये सारे इसके लक्षण हैं। इसको ठीक रखने के लिए देखिए कुछ अभ्यास है, क्योंकि आपके थायराइड जो ग्रंथि ये भी आपके एक्टिव होना चाहिए, क्योंकि हार्मोन्स यदि अनबैलेंस हो जाते हैं, ये इसका बहुत बड़ा कारण है। तो ये नेक का अभ्यास करने के बाद में कमर का अभ्यास कर लेंगे। देखिए, कमर पे हाथ रखने के बाद और कमर को आपको घुमाना है। ये आपको आसन करने से पहले कुछ सूक्ष्म क्रियाएं जरूर कर लेना चाहिए, जिससे आप आसन को अच्छे से कर पाएंगे। तो आप यहाँ पर देख सकते हैं, हमारे साथ जसप्रीत जी हैं जो आपको करके दिखा रहे हैं। बहुत ही बढ़िया और बहुत ही सुंदर। आप चाहें तो जितने भी जो ज्ञान दर्शन के जो दर्शक हैं, वो या तो आप वीडियो बना लें या तो फिर आप इसको डाउनलोड कर लें, क्योंकि क्या होता है कि बाद में फिर हमारे पास आप पूछते हैं, तो इससे अच्छा है कि आप इसको याद कर लें। देखिए, ये हो गया। इसके बाद में अभ्यास हम करेंगे जो इससे संबंधित, वो है सूर्य नमस्कार। देखिए, एक अभ्यास आप देख लेंगे, हम एक राउंड आपको दिखाएंगे सूर्य नमस्कार करके। देखिए, 1 2, श्वास भरते पीछे जाना है, 3 4, राइट लेग पीछे ले जाएंगे इसमें, 5, ये बहुत ही हेल्प करेगा आपको पीसीओडी में, 6 7 8 9, राइट लेग ही आगे लेके आना है, 10 श्वास भरते ऊपर आएंगे, 11, 12। तो ये सूर्य नमस्कार, आप इसको अपने समय के अनुसार और अपनी क्षमता के अनुसार आप इसको 5 राउंड 10 राउंड तक आप इसको कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये ज़्यादातर आज के समय में ये समस्याएं जो हो रही वो 15 साल से लेकर 35 साल के तक के एज के जो गर्ल्स हैं, जो फीमेल है, उनको बहुत ही ज़्यादा, और ख़ास करके जो मेट्रो सिटी है उनमें ज़्यादातर देखा जा रहा है। जो शहर के जो लाइफ स्टाइल है, क्योंकि अनियमित खान पीन हो गया है, समय पर सोना नहीं, और रात को जग जग के जो पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, इनके साथ ही बहुत ज़्यादा समस्या आ रही है। अगला अभ्यास जो हम करने जा रहे हैं इसका नाम है बटरफ्लाई, तितली आसन। तो तितली आसन आप देखिए यहाँ पर, जिस तरह से दोनों पैरों को आपस में मिला लेना है, पंजों को, और फिर आपको जैसे तितली अपने पंख को फैलाती है और उड़ती है, उसी तरह से आपको ये अभ्यास करना है। इस अभ्यास को आप कम से कम 2 मिनट करें। ये अभ्यास बहुत ही सुंदर है, आप इसको देख सकते हैं। इस तरह से आप 2 बार करने के बाद में, 2 मिनट करने के बाद में, आप इस तरह से दोनों हाथ घुटने के नीचे रखेंगे और श्वास भरते हुए इसे ऊपर लेके जाना है, श्वास छोड़ते हुए नीचे लाना है। ये आप अपने समय के अनुसार, यहाँ पे कम से कम देखिए हम 10 बार आपको करके दिखा रहे हैं, परंतु ये आपको अपने समय के अनुसार, अपनी क्षमता के अनुसार करना है। इसको 5 से लेकर 10 करते हुए 20, 25 और इसे 50 तक आप कर सकते हैं। बहुत ही अच्छा अभ्यास है। यदि आप इसे नियमित करते हैं तो, क्योंकि मैं एक योग शिक्षक होने के नाते, योगाचार्य होने के नाते मेरे पास लोग आते हैं और हम इसको 20 से 25 दिन में आप इसको रेगुलर करें, 1 महीना होते होते आप इस समस्या से निजात पा सकते हैं। नियमित करना होगा योग आपको। तो ये देखिए बटरफ्लाई, इस तरह से करने के बाद में आप इसको नीचे की ओर दबाना है, तो इससे आपके जो पेल्विक मसल्स जो है, आसपास के जो मसल्स, वो आपकी स्ट्रेचिंग होंगे। तो क्योंकि देखिए ओवरीज में सिस्ट बन जाते हैं, तो ये सारे चीज़ को आपको बहुत ही आराम मिलेगा इसमें आपको, और आपके पीरियड नियमित हो जाएंगे। तो ये बटरफ्लाई। और इसके बाद अगला अभ्यास जो हम बताने जा रहे हैं आसन, वो है देखिए चक्की चलाना। ये आज भी गांव के जो महिलाएं हैं ये अभ्यास को करते रहते हैं, पर शहरों में अभ्यास छूट गया है। तो इसलिए आप योग जरूर करें, अपने दिनचर्या को अपने ठीक करें। देखिए चक्की कैसे चलाना ये देख लीजिए। दोनों हाथ को इंटरलॉक करना है, दोनों पैरों में अपने कंधे के बराबर फासला रखनी है, गैप देनी है, और देखिए आगे की ओर आएंगे, दोनों हाथ को इंटरलॉक करते हुए। देखिए जितना पीछे से अधिक जा सकते हैं उतना आप जाने का प्रयास करें। तो इस तरह से आप देखिए यहाँ पर जसप्रीत जी आपको दिखा रहे हैं चक्की चलाकर। इस अभ्यास को आप 15 क्लॉकवाइज करें, 15 एंटी क्लॉकवाइज, कम से कम 10 से शुरुआत करें। इसके बाद धीरे धीरे से 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 तक इसको आप ले जाएं। और बहुत ही अच्छा अभ्यास है हर फीमेल के लिए, क्योंकि कुछ ऐसे हमारे जो हार्मोन्स होते हैं खास करके फीमेल में, वो रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम के लिए बहुत ही अच्छा है। ये प्रजनन तंत्र के लिए ये बहुत ही अच्छा अभ्यास है। लोगों को लगता है क्योंकि आजकल कि ये अभ्यास है नहीं कर पाएंगे, तो बिल्कुल थोड़ा सा केवल आप सीखें किसी से अच्छे से, और फिर इसको हम नियमित कर लें। इस तरह से आप 15 करके और उसके बाद फिर आप होल्ड कर सकते हैं। तो इससे आपके कोर मसल्स भी आपके मजबूत होंगे, पेट के मसल्स आपके मजबूत होंगे, जो नाभि है, नेवल, वो भी आपके सेंटर में रहेंगे, क्योंकि वो जब समय पर या सही जगह पर नहीं होते हैं तब भी लोगों को गैस बनते हैं। तो इस तरह से आप देख लीजिए। फिर यहाँ पर इसको एंटी क्लॉकवाइज करेंगे, उल्टा घुमाना है। फिर ये देखिए हर आसन को हम आपको अच्छे से अच्छा करके दिखाने का प्रयास करेंगे। और देखिए यहाँ पर बहुत ही नियमित हम लोग योग अभ्यास को करते हैं। तो आप भी, क्योंकि ज्ञान दर्शन के माध्यम से इतना अच्छा सुविधा मिली हुई है आपको, योग, प्राणायाम, नेचुरोपैथी, आयुर्वेद का समय समय पर आपको हर रोगों के ऊपर यहाँ पर दिखाया जा रहा है पूरे भारतवर्ष में। तो प्रत्येक लोगों को ये योग से जुड़ना चाहिए और ये अधिक से अधिक लोगों को इसके विषय में बताएं। तो इस तरह से एंटी क्लॉकवाइज करने के बाद में आप इस तरह से होल्ड करें दोनों तरफ से। ये देखिए चक्की चालन क्रिया। उसके बाद अगला अभ्यास जो करेंगे वो है वज्रासन में बैठकर। इस तरह से आप देखिए वज्रासन में बैठेंगे। ये तो हर व्यक्ति को करना चाहिए, मेल हो चाहे फीमेल हो। इससे आपका डाइजेशन ठीक रहेगा, आपका पाचन क्रिया ठीक रहेगा। तो देखिए वज्रासन, और वज्रासन करने के बाद में अगला अभ्यास जो करेंगे इसका नाम है शशांकासन। शशांक मीन्स होता है खरगोश। और देखिए शशांक आसन में दोनों हाथ ऊपर उठाएंगे धीरे धीरे श्वास भरते हुए, और जितना अधिक से अधिक अपने शरीर को खींचे और फिर श्वास को बाहर निकालते हुए धीरे धीरे आगे की ओर झुक जाएंगे, क्योंकि इससे आपके जो लोअर एब्डोमेन है ये आपके इसमें प्रेशर आएगा। तो ये बहुत ही अच्छा इसमें आपको पीसीओडी में आपको रिजल्ट मिलेगा इस अभ्यास को करने से। इसे जितना शुरू में आप ज़्यादा नहीं कर सकते हैं तो आप यहाँ पर जैसे कई बार लोगों को चुभते हैं पंजों के पास, तो आप छोटा पिल्लो रख सकते हैं या टॉवल रख सकते हैं। इसको आप 30 सेकंड पहले होल्ड करें, श्वास को नॉर्मल रखना है। जब नीचे जाएंगे पहले 30 सेकंड होल्ड करें, फिर 1 मिनट तक होल्ड करें इसको। और इस अभ्यास को करने से एक और भी बहुत ज़्यादा लाभ मिलता है, वो ये है कि जब आगे को आप झुकते हैं तो हमारे जो ब्रेन में हमारे एक हार्मोन्स होते हैं, इसको बोलते हैं, जिसका नाम है डोपामाइन, और वो यदि सिक्रेट होते हैं तो व्यक्ति बहुत ही तनाव से बहुत ही तनाव में उसको आराम मिलता है, क्योंकि तनाव भी एक बहुत बड़ा कारण है पीसीओडी के लिए। वापस आ जाएंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारे जो मेंटल हेल्थ है इसको भी ठीक रखने की आवश्यकता है, इस जो डिजीज है एक तरह से। इसके बाद अगला अभ्यास करेंगे, इसका नाम है योग मुद्रासन। इसके लिए आप दोनों हाथ को पीछे बांध लेंगे, अपने कलाई को पकड़ लेना है, और इसी तरह से जैसे अभी आगे झुके थे शशांक आसन में उसी तरह से श्वास लेना है, फिर श्वास को बाहर निकालते हुए धीरे धीरे आगे की ओर झुक जाएंगे। योग मुद्रासन, इसे वज्रासन में भी कर सकते हैं और इसको पद्मासन में भी आप कर सकते हैं, आपको जैसे सुविधा उसमें करें। हम आपको यहाँ पर वज्रासन में दिखा रहे हैं, योग मुद्रासन। और इसके बाद अगला आसन जो है वो है पश्चिम उत्तानासन। ये और भी ज़्यादा लाभदायक है इसके लिए। और पश्चिम उत्तानासन देखिए, इसमें आपको पैर दोनों को सीधे कर लेना है दंडासन में, और दोनों हाथों को साइड से ऊपर उठाइए, श्वास भरते हुए ऊपर खींचिए अपने आप को जितना ऊपर खींच सकते हैं, और श्वास को बाहर निकालते हुए आगे की ओर झुक जाएंगे। इसमें एक चीज़ का ध्यान रखना है, यदि किसी को कमर में दर्द है, ज़्यादा बैक पेन है, या किसी को स्लिप डिस्क हो गया, तो वो इस अभ्यास को नहीं करना चाहिए जो कमर दर्द वाले हैं। देखिए पश्चिम उत्तानासन, ये पेट के लिए बहुत अच्छा है ही पीसीओडी के लिए, और इसका लाभ है कि आपके कमर में कभी दर्द नहीं होंगे यदि आप इसको करते रहेंगे तो, क्योंकि स्पाइन में इसका बहुत ही अच्छा प्रभाव पड़ता है। आपके सारे जो 33 वर्टिब्रा है ये 33 के 33 इससे प्रभावित होते हैं। तो ये आप देखिए यहाँ पर पश्चिम उत्तानासन। एक बार और इस आसन को करके दिखाएंगे, बहुत ही अच्छा आसन है। इस आसन को प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को करना चाहिए, इससे आपके कमर के जो पास जो स्टिफनेस है उसके लिए भी बहुत ही लाभदायक है ये। और पैरों के जो पीछे बैक साइड में जो सियाटिका नर्व होता है वो भी इससे आपके स्वस्थ रहेंगे। जिनका काम बहुत ज़्यादा खड़े होने का है उनको ज़रूर ये आसन करना चाहिए। यहाँ पर हम लोग का जो आज का जो टॉपिक है वो पीसीओडी है, तो इसके लिए तो लाभ है ही है। तो योग जो है केवल एक चीज़ों पर काम नहीं करता, वो आपके शारीरिक, मानसिक और आध्यात्मिक तीनों उन्नति करता है योग। वापस आ जाएंगे, और इसे कितना देर रोकना है, जैसे आपकी क्षमता हो, 20 सेकंड रोक लीजिए, 30 सेकंड या 1 मिनट तक आप इसको होल्ड करने का प्रयास करेंगे। तो ये पश्चिम उत्तानासन। और इसके बाद अगला आसन करेंगे हम लोग यहाँ पर उष्ट्रासन। उष्ट्रासन, देखिए उष्ट्रासन बोलते हैं कैमल, ऊँट को। ये भी बहुत ही अच्छा आसन है, आप इसको घुटने के बल पे खड़े हो जाएंगे। इसमें 2 अभ्यास होते हैं उष्ट्रासन में, तो एक पहले हम पहला अभ्यास करके दिखा रहे हैं, फिर दूसरा अभ्यास करेंगे। पहला अभ्यास में हाथ कमर पे रखेंगे, ये देखिए, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो शुरू में जब करेंगे आप तो आपको पूर्ण उष्ट्रासन नहीं कर सकते हैं, तो आप इसको आधा कर ले। इसमें कोहनी को मिलाने का प्रयास करेंगे, कमर को जितना अधिक से अधिक हो सके आप बाहर की ओर पुश करेंगे, आगे की ओर निकालने का प्रयास करेंगे। तो ये आपके लंग्स के लिए बहुत अच्छा है, और ओवरीज के लिए बहुत अच्छा है, ये सर्वाइकल के लिए लाभदायक है, आपके थायराइड के लिए भी लाभदायक है, और लंग्स के लिए है, ये आँखों के लिए बहुत अच्छा है ये। तो ये हो गया उष्ट्रासन का पहला भाग। अब उष्ट्रासन का दूसरा भाग इसमें आपको करके दिखाएंगे। देखिए इसमें दोनों हाथ इसी तरह से ऊपर, और फिर श्वास को इसमें अंदर भर कर रखेंगे तो बहुत ही लाभदायक है लंग्स के लिए। तो कोरोना काल में सबसे ज़्यादा आसन करने वालों में से ये आसन था। इस आसन को लोग बहुत करते थे और हम भी कराया करते थे, कि इससे बहुत ही लाभ मिला लोगों को। तो यहाँ आप देखिए कि इस सारे, जैसे ऊँट का जो पीठ का जो हिस्सा होता है, लंग्स का हिस्सा होता है, बहुत ही मजबूत होता है, तो इससे बहुत ही ज़्यादा प्रभावित होते हैं। और पीसीओडी में तो लाभदायक है ही है, पर और भी चीज़ों में इसका बहुत ही लाभ मिलते हैं। वापस आ जाएंगे। इसे भी आप स्टार्टिंग में, शुरू में आप 10 सेकंड रोकिए, 20 सेकंड रोकिए, फिर इसे धीरे धीरे आप बढ़ा सकते हैं। तो ये उष्ट्रासन हो गया। अब इसके बाद में आप शवासन कर लेंगे। शवासन आ जाएंगे, थोड़ा सा अपने आप को रिलैक्स करें, जिससे आपका श्वास है जो वो थोड़ा नॉर्मल हो जाएगा। अपने आप को स्थिर करें, मन को स्थिर करें, क्योंकि आप मन से भी आपको स्वस्थ होना है। तो जब आप शवासन करें तो शवासन में केवल लेटना नहीं होता है। शवासन में आप जो भी आसन अभी किए इससे पहले, उस आसन को आप चिंतन करें और ये प्रार्थना करें, भाव ये लाए कि जो भी अभ्यास हम किए उस अभ्यास से हमारे शरीर के जो अंदर के जो हार्मोन्स हैं वो सभी बैलेंस हो रहे हैं, हमारे मसल्स एक्टिव हो रहे हैं, ब्लड सर्कुलेशन अच्छा हो रहा है, ऑक्सीजन की मात्रा बढ़ रही है, और हम इस जो हमारे अंदर जो भी समस्या आई वो समस्या समाधान हो रहा है, हम बिल्कुल ठीक हो रहे हैं, स्वस्थ हो रहे हैं। इस तरह से शवासन में आपको अपने मन को, अपने इस तरह से आपको मैसेज देना अपने ब्रेन को। और इसके बाद एडवांस में चाहे तो आप अपने श्वासों को देख सकते हैं। तो इस तरह से शवासन के बाद में आपको अगला अभ्यास जो करना है वो है हलासन। बहुत ही प्रभावशाली आसन है, इसे सभी लोग नहीं कर सकते, पर यहाँ पर हम आपको एक बार जरूर करके दिखा रहे हैं। देखिए यहाँ पर जसप्रीत जी बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से किया आसन। तो ये तो है सर्वांग आसन। इस आसन को करने के बाद में धीरे धीरे आपको पीछे ना हलासन इसमें लाभदायक है पीसीओडी में। सर्वांग आसन जो आपको थायराइड के लिए बहुत अच्छा है। और देखिए धीरे धीरे आप इसको एक पैर भी पहले ले जा सकते हैं पीछे, उसके बाद में दोनों पैरों को भी आप ले जा सकते हो। तो यहाँ पर आप देखिए कि बिल्कुल देखिए कितने आराम से, कितने सरल तरीके से ले जाएंगे अपने पैर को। देखिए यहाँ पर हलासन, आपके शरीर के जो आकृति वो हल के भांति हो जाएंगे। इससे आपके बहुत ही अच्छा लाभदायक है। जो आजकल जो यंग लोग हैं, ये आसन को तो 5, 7, 10 दिन में आप सीख सकते हैं। इसको कीजिए, 25 से 30 दिन में आपको रिजल्ट मिल जाएंगे पीसीओडी के ऊपर। इतना प्रभावशाली आसन है, क्योंकि मैं खुद भी एक रिसर्च करता हूँ और मैं CPY जो प्रोग्राम चलता है इग्नू के द्वारा सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स, उसमें मुझे पढ़ाने का प्रैक्टिकल हम कराते हैं, तो हम लोग रिसर्च भी करते हैं। और तो इसमें देखिए ये बहुत ही अच्छा आसन है, आप इसको ज़रूर अभ्यास करें। और जो भी विद्यार्थी देख रहे हैं तो मैं उनसे भी कहूँगा कि आप ज़रूर जो इग्नू से जो सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स होता है 6 मंथ का, उसे भी आप ज्वाइन करें और लाभ उठाएं। ये देखिए हलासन, धीरे धीरे इसमें वापस आ जाना है। और इसके बाद एक आसन काउंटर पोज, आप चाहे तो इसको कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि आप हलासन जब किए हैं तो आपके नेक में प्रेशर आता है, तो आप इसको बाद में एक बार जरूर कर लिया करें। तो ये हो गया हलासन। अगला आसन है, इसी में है भुजंग आसन। इसमें अभी हम लोग आसन दिखाए आपको, कुछ खड़े होकर बताए, कुछ आसन हमें अपने बैठ के बताए, कुछ पीठ के बल लेट के। अब हम इसको पेट के बल लेट का आसन बताएंगे। इसमें जो सबसे ज़्यादा प्रभावशाली आसन है वो है भुजंग आसन, कोबरा पोज। देखिए दोनों हाथ को चेस्ट के बगल में रखना है, पाँव को मिलाना है और श्वास भरते हुए धीरे धीरे ऊपर उठेंगे नाभि तक। बिल्कुल आपके एब्डोमेन में प्रेशर आएगा, आपके लोअर बैक भी स्ट्रॉन्ग हो से इसे L4 L5। और इसे 15 से 20 सेकंड रोकिए, श्वास को भी अंदर रोक कर रखेंगे, आसन को भी होल्ड करेंगे और फिर धीरे धीरे वापस आ जाएंगे। और जैसे हमने भुजंग आसन किए, अब इसी का भुजंग आसन का एक और अभ्यास है जो इससे भी ज़्यादा प्रभाव डालेगा आपको। इसके लिए आपको दोनों हाथों को अपने चेस्ट के पास रखना है, पान के सेम में, और हाथ को जितना थोड़ा सा और अंदर की ओर ले जाएंगे। और इसमें देखिए धीरे धीरे बिल्कुल ऊपर उठना है। देखिए यहाँ पर आपको देखना है और करना है। जो अभी लाइव देख रहे हैं वो ज़रूर इसको साथ के साथ अभ्यास करें। और या भी आप नहीं कर पा रहे हैं तो आप इसका वीडियो बना लें, आप फ़ोटो खींच लें, आप पिक्चर ले लें इसका, या तो फिर इसको आप जिस तरह भी सुविधा हो उस तरह से आप इसको ज़रूर एक दूसरे को हेल्प करें, आप एक दूसरे को बताएं, एक दूसरे को शेयर करें, क्योंकि हम वो चीज़ आपको बताएं जिस तरह से केवल जो मुख्य मुख्य आसन है केवल आपको वो हम बता रहे हैं। धीरे धीरे वापस आ जाएंगे। भुजंगासन, और इसके बाद एक आसन और है इसमें धनुरासन। अपना पैर पकड़ लेंगे, हाँ, इसमें श्वास को भरेंगे और श्वास भर के पैरों को पीछे की ओर खींचना है। देखिए कितना सुंदर आसन है। इसमें आपके जो लोअर एब्डोमेन पर बहुत ही अच्छा प्रेशर आता है, इससे आपके कमर भी मजबूत होंगे, लंग्स भी मजबूत होंगे, आपके थाई मसल्स भी मजबूत होंगे, पेल्विक मसल्स भी मजबूत होंगे। आप देखते जाइए, क्योंकि जो आसन है, जो योग है, ये हमारे भारतीय संस्कृति के बहुत ही प्राचीन विधा है। इस विद्या को अपनाएं और अपने शरीर को, अपने मन को आप स्वस्थ करें, अपने तन को स्वस्थ करें। तो इस तरह धनुरासन आपके समय के अनुसार, इसे आप जैसे हमने अभी एक बार किए हैं, आप इसे 2 बार, 3 बार, 5 बार कर सकते हैं, और किसी अच्छे योग शिक्षक के देख रेख में शुरू में ज़रूर करें। इसके बाद बैठ जाएंगे। तो ये थे आसन जो हमने आपको आसन बताएं, और इसके बाद इसी से संबंधित आपको हम कुछ प्राणायाम बताएंगे, जिस प्राणायाम को आपको ज़रूर करना चाहिए। तो इस तरह से पद्मासन बैठ जाएं। यदि आप पद्मासन नहीं लगा सकते हैं आप, तो सखासन में और आराम से बैठ सकते हैं। और इसके बाद में यहाँ पर करना आपको कपालभाति प्राणायाम। कपालभाति में श्वास को बाहर निकालना है और पेट को अंदर की ओर खींचना है। एक सेकेंड में एक स्ट्रोक। तो ये कपालभाति शुद्धि क्रिया है। इस अभ्यास को करने से देखिए आपके पीसीओडी में तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा लाभदायक है ही है। आपके ओवरीज के लिए, आपके यूटीआई जैसे संबंधित यूरिन संबंधी समस्या के लिए बहुत ही अच्छा है। पेन किलर आपके एक्टिव हो जाएंगे इससे, और आपके लीवर अच्छा काम करेगा, आपका छोटी आंत, आपके बड़ी आंत, ये बहुत अच्छे से काम करेंगे। तो इस तरह से आप देखिए, यहाँ पर हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं कपालभाति शुद्धि क्रिया। कपालभाति प्राणायाम भी ऐसे शुद्धि क्रिया भी आप कर सकते हैं। आपका टॉक्सिन्स बाहर निकलते हैं, इससे ऑक्सीजन अधिक से अधिक ले सकते हैं। तो ये कपालभाति प्राणायाम। और इसके बाद इसी में आप अगला अभ्यास कर सकते हैं। देखिए मन को स्वस्थ रखना जो जरूरी है, तो भ्रामरी प्राणायाम कर लीजिए, क्योंकि आपका ब्रेन से भी जुड़ा हुआ ये है। तो तनाव को भी आपको रिलीफ करना है, तो भ्रामरी प्राणायाम भी करके दिखाएंगे। देखिए आपको वही आसन प्राणायाम हम बता रहे जो इसमें सबसे ज़्यादा संबंधित है। भ्रामरी प्राणायाम में देखिए अंगूठे से आपको कान बंद करना है और चारों उंगली को इस तरह से रखना है। इसको सन्मुखी मुद्रा कहा जाता है। और श्वास लेकर श्वास को बाहर निकालेंगे। इसे 2 से 3 बार करें। समय है तो आप 10 बार करें। और इस तरह से आप किसी अच्छे योग शिक्षक के देख रेख में ज़रूर एक बार सीखें। अब जैसे यहाँ पर आप देख के ज़रूर करें। तो आज का जो सेशन था, जो आज का प्रोग्राम था पीसीओडी के ऊपर, आप दर्शक लोग जो देखें और आप इसका लाभ उठाएं। ज्ञान दर्शन चैनल के सभी लोगों को विशेष अभिवादन, नमस्कार। आप इसी तरह से योग का, प्राणायाम का लाभ लेते रहें।
Hello viewers. This MA program in Environmental and Occupational Health focuses on the relationship between people and their environment and fosters safe and healthy communities. And this is of utmost importance. This program is an MA in Environmental and Occupational Health. The type of the program is a master's program and the medium of instruction will be in English. The duration of the program will be a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 4 years. The target group will be a graduation from any discipline. Mainly the professionals working in environmental and occupational sector and non-governmental organizations are welcome to join. Doctors, nurses, paramedical graduates and employees can join the course. Employees from the Central Pollution Control Board, civil servants of the state and central governments, faculty, researchers and students in universities, research organizations and colleges will find this program very interesting. Graduates aspiring to pursue a career in environmental management, occupational health and safety, industrial health and safety will also find this program of useful relevance. The job opportunities for this program is tremendous. They can work as environmental health and safety specialist, occupational health and safety specialist in various organizations, HSE coordinator and protection officers. They can also work as worksite wellness coordinators, public administration and safety professionals. They can also work as industrial hygienists and ergonomists in the various organizations. Then the safety and environmental health managers, toxicologists, health and safety engineering specializations are also very important. The objectives of this program include the following. They will discuss the impact of the environmental hazards on human health. Then they will describe the policies, laws, standards and the measurement techniques and applications in different occupational setups. They will also help to develop mitigation strategies to contain and manage environmental and occupational hazards for positive health. Finally, they will also help to exhibit the knowledge and skills that are needed to improve the environmental sustainability of human health systems. First year courses of the MA program include Introduction to Environmental Health, Environmental and Occupational Hazards, Environmental Law and Management, Environmental Toxicology, Occupational Health and Safety Project Work, Environmental Impact Assessment for Environmental Health, Healthcare, Agriculture and Allied Sector, Industrial Sector. The second year MA courses include Gender Issues in Work, Employment and Productivity, Disaster Management, Sustainable Natural Resource Management, Safety Philosophy and Principles of Accident Prevention, Disaster Medicine and Global Climate Change, Fundamentals of Mental Health, Gender Issues in Agriculture, Rural Livelihoods and Natural Resource Management, Globalization, Environment and Development, and Introduction to Geoinformatics. The instructional system that is followed at IGNOU includes the multimedia approach, the self-learning materials, audio-video programs, assignments, counseling sessions, project work, teleconferencing and interactive.
Why research is very important, especially for professional social workers. Many times, the social workers will practice in NGO, industrial setting, hospital setting, and community setting, and they will have a major role to play in different interventions where they have to take the research as a method of professional social work. For that, each and every social work student, especially from BSW, that is Bachelor of Social Work, Master of Social Work, or even the PhD students, they should know the every step of social work research. That's why today we want to discuss the basic research activities in social work. So let's discuss one by one. So the social work is not a very simple activity. It takes lot of scientific techniques. So we will go one by one. Predominantly, we will discuss each and every step. Now, I will also invite my colleague Dr. Binod. He is a faculty of School of Social Work, and myself I am Dr. Kannappa Shetty. Both we will discuss these particular aspects. Now, first let's understand what are the aspects we are going to discuss. So now this is basically I'm going to give you overview. It's nothing but synopsis. So we will discuss a few aspects like what are the exactly we are going to focus. The first one is what is research. So we will discuss a little bit on research. What is research? And another one is why do we require to conduct research? So this is a very important aspect. We will discuss a little bit more on this. Another one is every research scientific. So there are a lot of questions whether your research is scientific, my research is scientific, whether normal people doing research is scientific, only professional doing research is scientific. So we will discuss further on that. And what is the research for a layman? Nothing but a common man. So what he thinks and what he does in his real life, whether that is a part of research or not. And what is the social work research? And why social workers are required to learn research. So these are all the things we will learn one by one. Now I'll request my colleague to discuss what is the research.
So research is a process which through which you are doing a systematic inquiry of any issue, maybe related with your subject, maybe related to your daily life. Why I am connecting this with the daily life? Because research, every discipline, because research is a cross-cutting subject, and it is cross-cutting with every discipline, and every discipline adds its own value to the domain of research. And when we talk about research in social sciences, research in social sciences is you can say distinctively different from what it happens in the physical sciences, but the process remains the same. As you know, when we talk about research in physical sciences, you will find labs, you will find chemicals, you will find apparatus. But when we talk about research in social sciences, so the society or community is the lab itself, and we are more of doing research of certain phenomena with the people and trying to find solution to that. And social sciences research are directly related with the daily life problems, as well as the social science research helps in making decision more evidence based, and it helps in a better policy making for the government. When we talk about decision making process in the government, which is connected to the research in social sciences or social sciences in general, or social work in particular, if you see any kind of intervention or any kind of schemes or any kind of intervention which has to be designed, that has to be based on some sorts of solid data and solid evidence, not only data, narratives, and these are coming from the coming from the research. When we are going into the going into the public, we are asking questions and documenting all these knowledges, and on the basis of that we are able to take decisions related to governance, we are able to take decisions related to formulation of programs and policies. The reason why we are discussing today research is Research is a method in social work, and when we talk about a method in social work, out of 6 methods, research is connected to all the methods. When we talk about different methods, so research is giving impetus to each and every methods, every other methods. Like if you take casework, if you take group work, community work. For example, if you take casework, how research helps in assessing an individual, trying to do diagnosis, knowing the problem of individual, and finding solution or finding treatment pathways for the individual. In that way, if you have these kind of problems and processes to make intervention for the people, you will go through some sorts of research, and that way research in social sciences in general and research in social work in particular is a very important topic which we are going to deliberate today. And next I invite my expert Dr. Kanappa Shetty to explain more in detail.
Now, my colleague Dr. Vinodji has explained, I know what is social work research and the importance of social work research and different reasons he has given. Now, let's understand, another very important, aspect is research is, scientific method or not. So, definitely, what the social work professionals, especially the students and the qualified professionals, are doing it in their practice. That is a scientific, approach. There are a number of people, even layman and general population, they also does the research, but they don't. Sometimes they don't apply, the scientific methods. Whereas here, clearly we can say that the professional social workers, either it could be students or full-fledged professionals, they are going to use the social work method as a scientific method. So two things we need to understand: the scientific method, to say our research is scientific method or not. There are two things. One is it is facts and theories. These two things are very important. So most of things, when we are doing the research, we find out the facts, and based on the facts we may emerge a theory as well. So there are some major characteristics to say whether this particular research, social work research, is a scientific research or not. They are objectivity is very important. So objectivity is one of the characteristic of scientific research. Another one is verifiability. So verifiability is also another major characteristic of social work research. Another, replication, so prediction. These four components are characteristics of scientific research. So otherwise people can say that it is not a scientific. So these are all very important aspects of scientific research. Now, use of scientific methods in social science. See, social sciences is basically social work or social sciences. We predominantly deal with human beings and their behaviors and observe their attitude, all of them. So there is a lot of scope for social workers to engage social research activities in human behaviors or humanities or even social sciences. And therefore one cannot investigate the human behaviors under the guided conditions as natural and physical sciences. So it creates a a very major distinction that when you are doing a research, there are certain objectives. Based on the objectives, you are going to make some facts, and you are going to come up with some theories. So it is very essential that we should do a research in in a scientific manner, especially to understand human behaviors and their natures. Now, I will request my colleague Dr. Binodji to talk on why research is very important for layman.
So, as Kanappaji has already explained, the subject specific requirement of and scientificity involved in the research process. Let me explain that in everyday life we all are doing some sorts of research. If you see, for example, if you want to buy one mobile, so when you are buying one mobile, before arriving at a decision where you will buy, whether it is Amazon, whether it is a Flipkart, or whether you will go in the shop physically and take direct mobile from there, how you take decision and how you arrive at that particular decision. If you see, you must be going through all lot of websites where you are trying to compare features, you are trying to compare prices of the mobiles, as well as you are also trying to assess that how much amount you can invest in for the mobile. So after going through all these pros and cons, after assessing features of the mobile and the prices on the different platforms, like online platforms are there, and even you are visiting shops, after coming with all these lot of informations, what you are doing, you are comparing and arriving at a decision. So knowingly or unknowingly, what we are doing in this process, we are surveying the price and surveying the essential features which you require in your mobile phone. So so what we are doing is that we are applying one methods of research, and in that process we don't know that we are doing research, and we are applying fundamental principles of research. All these are scientific in nature. So let me add more things. Like if you see, shepherds are going with the sheep in Himalayan regions, and they are going and staying for a long time. But if you see, they are illiterate, but they are also trying to do survey of the grasslands where grass are there. They will assess first, they will go alone, and then they will go with their sheep and all, and they will stay for a longer period of time. So what essentially I am trying to say is that in the daily normal life, and even illiterate persons are doing some sorts of research, and they are uh, fundamentally applying some research tools which we teach our students in the classroom. So these discussions has to be understood. Why I am giving these examples which are very common and which are which you can connect with your daily life, is that these are very simple steps through which we reach at the decision. And there are tools like I told you, in both the cases I have given example. Survey is one of the important tool through which they are taking decision and arriving at a decision whether to go in a particular place with a sheep or not, or whether to buy a particular mobile from a certain platform, or going to the shops and buying it physically. So these decisions involved economic implications, and these are important for every human being, and we are dealing with these particular problems. If you see, let me dwell upon one more examples, like every from I'll give you the example from social work. Like if we have to or students have to design a casework intervention, some you can say, you can take examples that some accident has happened, and the person is very in a critical stage, he is admitted or she is admitted in the hospital. So you have to prepare a pathway of treatment which is already going on, pathway of recovery, so that your client comes to the normal life. He is a scared person, and he is already going through lot of surgery. How you try to design intervention? So what you will do, you will try to assess his family background, you will try to assess his educational background, you will try to assess his economic background, so that you can design an intervention which is suitable for that particular individual. So in this way, what I wanted to convey to you is that research is not only a discipline specific research. All of us in different walks of life, whether it is a business, whether it is a profession, whether it is a normal life, even you can say housewives are using lot of estimation and research tools they are using in daily cooking. So these are important aspects which I wanted to highlight, so that you should not think, when research is coming in mind, you should not think that it is a very academic process. It is academic as well as it is a daily life process. We all are doing knowingly or unknowingly. Over to Kanapaji.
Thank you, Vinodji. My colleague was explaining, the essential, the reasons for social work research, in the especially when they are practicing. He has given, example for even laymen, the ordinary people, and even professional social workers. Just would like to add one or two, objectives for that. When the social work professionals are practicing in different fields, so it could be hospital setting, it could be NGO setting, or even industrial setting, community setting. When they will be studying each and every problem there with the clients. So when they are studying, they are studying in individual clients, individual patients, they will definitely they need to assess. So assessment is nothing but basic step of research. So when they are doing it in large number of people, large number of samples, as part of their projects, as part of their to design intervention modules or to test out the treatment models. So they need to do a systematic the process of research. When they do it, they will understand these are all the problems. So these are all the problems, and by assessing these are all the problems, they'll make out, okay, these are all possible solution we can give. So when they develop solutions, they will have to test it out. So we sometime when to test the particular interventions or treatment models, you will have to test it out. So for testing, again you have to go through proper research method. So especially for social workers, the research method is a part and parcel of their practice. So they will have to do it systematically to understand the problems and to come out of the solutions. It could be decision making, or it could be solution focus, or different kind of things. Since it is ours is a practice based approach, the research is essential component of the social work practices. So another thing, let's understand what are the approaches we have. So we have a different approaches, philosophical approaches for social work. That could be like a scientific approach we have, hypnothetic detective approach we have, quantitative approach we have, extensive approach we have, traditional approach we have, experiment and survey we have, and we have ethnographic approach we have, and qualitative, intensive, traditional approach. There are so many approaches we have, but all of them will not be using by professional social worker. It depends on the nature of problem. It depends on the nature of the study, what the approach or the method they have to use it. Now let's understand the research method. Now I will request my colleague Dr. Vinodji to explain on research method.
So when we are decided regarding research questions, we need to discuss and we need to decide that what methods we will adopt for that particular answering that particular research question. So research methods are specific procedures for collecting and analyzing data. That means whenever, as we have discussed initially, that we need to go into the field, cull out the data, and we need to analyze that particular data. So and for doing that, you need to decide about the research method, which tools you will be using it, and you need to prepare research design, and you need to plan in advance regarding your methods, what you will be taking and employing in your own research. So first first decision which comes into the picture is the collection of data. So how you will collect data? There are a number of tools which are there within the research method. So how you will collect data? But fundamentally, I would like to underline one thing, that your methods will largely depend on the kind of research questions you have. So in research, what you are doing, you are trying to prove or disprove, or you are trying to find answer for some questions. So how you will approach that particular question and how you can reach at the answer of that particular question, that will depend, the answer will come only from the methods. So how you will employ that methods when we are talking about research method. Another thing I would like to emphasize is that whenever you are deciding about methods, you need to try to restrict yourself to a specificity. I mean, through a specificity, what I want to underline is that your research question which you are trying to find solution, or trying to find answer, or trying to prove or disprove, has to be very specific. If your questions are not very specific, no research method can answer that particular question. So before going into the method, you have to do your homework and refine that questions, that means research question, which you are trying to find answer, and through which for that you will employ your methods. So when we talk about methods, as I told you, that tools are important, a number of tools are available, and that employing a certain tools for answering certain questions will depend on that particular research question. Apart from that, you need to take a certain pathways, and you will have to take you will have to define and prepare a research design before going into the field. So all these processes has to be completed before starting your data collection. Data collection is one process through which you will be trying to find answer. Once you are collecting data, you will come back, you will filter the data. After filtering the data, you will feed the data in the software, and you will do the analysis. And after analysis, you will try to correlate or prove or disprove, or you will try to explain, or you will try to find answer to your research question. So this is the pathway which we all are following when we talk about research methods. So apart from that, when we talk about methods, two things are important. That means two pathways are available. When we talk about finding answer, there are two types of possibility. One possibility is that we give answer in a very precise way, which is very spread out in a horizontal way, and one is very descriptive. So for that there are two pathways. One is qualitative research and another one is a quantitative. So one has a very strong focus on data work, and another one has a very strong focus on narrative generation, finding explanation, and description to any problem. So these are the two pathways which are very important, and again we are going. But mind it, again I am telling you that deciding which methods you will take, it depends on your research question. And there are certain research question where for which answer can be deciphered only through employing these two pathways. That means quantitative and qualitative. So we are also using a mixed pathway and mixed method of research, we call in academic language. So there are certain questionnaires, there are certain problems which cannot be answered by qualitative, and which cannot be purely quantitative. So we try to we need explanation also, and we need quantitative data support to answer that particular question. So it is important that before taking decision, you frame questionnaire, you frame your research question in a very precise way, very focused, and then only you take decision that which methods you will employ.
So,
Invite Kanappaji to.
As my colleague said, we have mainly qualitative and quantitative. He has explained, what is the qualitative research methodology, what is the quantitative methodology. So when you are explaining in limited manner, probably we will go for a quantitative, that's a number wise. When you are explaining in detail, verbatim wise, all complete details, and kind of open-ended questions, probably we will have to go for qualitative method. So another very important, we need to discuss the primary method and secondary method. Actually, within the time, within a limited time, it's very difficult to explain entire the research, but this is a very basic. So primary data and secondary data. Primarily, you will be directly collecting with respondent or samples. So you will meet them and you will explain the entire the research process, and you will collect the data from them. Secondary means you will go to library, you will go to different research, what is the past research and documentaries and some books. You will collect the data and you will analyze. So all those things are part of research only. So it depends on the researcher and the supervisor what exactly you have to do it, and how you have to do it, and what methods you have to use it. So there are a lot of things to discuss, but for time being, we are focused on the basics for social work research for our especially for our students.
Thank you.
We wear clothes on a daily basis. But have we ever wondered, where do our clothes come from? Who makes our clothing? And who are the people and the process responsible for the whole manufacturing of our clothing? If you want to know more about this, Indira Gandhi National Open University from the School of Continuing Education has launched a program which is Certificate in Apparel Merchandising. There are many benefits after doing this program. You can become a designer in various fields. It can be fashion designer, apparel designer, costume designer, or even a textile designer. One can also work as a fashion consultant. Research and development is another field which one can take up after doing this certificate course. Going into academics is another perk after doing this program. Getting into fashion houses or fashion studios as an intern is also a very good option post doing the certificate in apparel merchandising. The basic eligibility of the program is 10 plus 2. The duration of the program is 6 months to 2 years. The program is also available for both the admission cycles, which is July and January. The exams are conducted twice a year, in June and December. So what are you waiting for? Join this program and get an enriching knowledge in the field of apparel merchandising. And to do so, you can log on to the official website of the university, www.ignou.ac.in.
Welcome to all. There are different dimensions of development of children, and we know that the different dimensions can be cognitive dimension, then social dimension, psychosocial dimension, physical dimension. And among this dimension, in today's session, I'm going to discuss about the psychosocial development of children. So this topic is part of BS 1-1 title Childhood and Growing Up. And before discussing about this psychosocial dimension, psychosocial development of adolescence, let us trace out the learning objectives of today's session. And in this today's session, I would like to discuss first about the psychosocial dimension, which is put forward by Erik Erikson. And this will be in 2 sessions, and in the second session, we will discuss about the psychosocial dimension among adolescents. So let us have a few discussion about Erik Erikson. That Erik Erikson was born in 1902 in Germany, and his area, we can see that he is from the developmental psychologist, psychoanalyst, and one of Sigmund Freud's contemporaries. Erikson focused on the socio-cultural aspect, and in 1959 he developed his 8 stages of psychosocial development. So we are first going to discuss about these 8 stages of psychosocial development. And Erikson's theory, it is centered on psychosocial development rather than psychosexual development. And this psychosexual development, it was emphasized by Sigmund Freud. And each stage involves a psychological crisis of 2 opposing emotional forces. So here we can see that this Erik Erikson's theory, it is mainly centered on the epigenetic principle. So, what does this epigenetic principle mean? It means it encompasses the notion that all the individuals develop through an unfolding of our personality in predetermined stages, and that our environment and surrounding culture influence how we progress through these stages. So, there are different stages of development, and in these stages, we can see the influence of the environment and culture. And when we think of the stages of psychosocial development, the 8 stages can be categorized as the first one, trust versus mistrust. So, what does this trust versus mistrust means? Here, what is the age for this trust versus mistrust? And then the virtue, what type of virtue is developing, and the negative outcome. So, we can see that each stage is very much important. Why is it important is that when a person successfully completed each stage, he is able to attain some kind of virtue. So let us see what are the stages and what are the virtues and negative outcome of each stage. When we look at the first stage, that is 1 year, the crisis is trust versus mistrust, and the virtue, if the stage is successfully completed, there the virtue is hope, and if it is not managed well, some kind of crisis, that is the suspicion or fear, such type of negative outcome will come out. And the second stage, that is autonomy versus shame and doubt, in that the age specific is for 18 months to 3 years. And here the virtue is the personal will, and the negative outcome, the lack of self-esteem. That is the negative outcome that is happening. And the third stage, that is known as initiative versus guilt, where it ranges between 3 to 5 years, and the virtue, that is purpose, and the negative outcome, that is inadequacy. The fourth stage, that enlarges between the 5 to 12 years, there the crisis is industry versus inferiority, and the virtue, if the stage has successfully managed, the virtue is competence or pride, and the negative outcome, that is inferiority. Coming to the fifth stage, that is 12 to 18 years, the stage is known as identity versus role confusion, and the virtue is fidelity, whereas the stage, if it is not managed well, the negative outcome is rebellion. Coming to the sixth stage, which ranges between 18 to 40 years, the stage is termed as intimacy versus isolation, and the virtue is love, and the negative outcome loneliness or isolation. And the seventh stage, the age range is between 40 to 65 years. The stage is known as generativity versus stagnation, and the virtue is the sense of care, and the negative outcome is unproductive. Coming to the eighth stage, that is 65 years and above, the crisis is known as ego integrity versus despair. The virtue is wisdom, and the negative outcome is dissatisfaction. Let us have a look elaborately for each stage, what is happening in each stage. Take the case of trust versus mistrust. There we can see that a child's need, that is food, warmth, and comfort, and the physical closeness, if that is not getting by the child, so the child will develop some kind of crisis, and the negative outcome is fear and suspicion. So what is needed is that for every child, for every infant, what we have to provide, that is the basic things, that is food, warmth, and physical closeness. And if there is any delay, when the child is crying, if there is any delay, it affects the child in a negative way. Coming to the features, what happens during this trust and mistrust stage? There we can see that the trust, that is the consistent environment, is important, and the basic needs might be met by the adults or the caretakers. And when the child is crying, quickly the response should be met. Then playing and talking, food, clothes, warm, and sleep. So this comes under the trust part, whereas under the mistrust, that is receive inconsistent care, receive less love and attention, fear and suspicion towards the world. If there is any delay is happening, then what happening is that some kind of fear and suspicion develops in the mind of the child. And the next stage, that is the autonomy versus shame and doubt. So here, what is important event during this stage is toilet training. So here, the child should be trained in a proper way without any fixation, and there should be a rapport between the parents. The relationship should be good enough. The child's energy is directed towards mastering physical skills such as walking, grasping, and muscular control. The child learns self-control but may develop shame, doubt, impulsivity, or compulsion if the stage is not handled well. So that training should be given to the child. So the most important thing is the patience on the part of the caretakers in order to train the child in a proper way. Coming to the next stage, which is termed as initiative versus guilt. There it happens between the age 6 to 12 years. The important event is independence. The child wants to become independent, and the relationship is with the family members. The child continues to become more assertive in exploration, discovery, adventure, and play. And the next feature, what we can see is the child shows too much force in this stage, causing feelings of guilt, and the failure to resolve this conflict leads to ruthlessness and inhibition. So we know that the child is passing through the various stages from the infancy to the childhood stage, so that we can see that little bit type of independence is happening, where we can see the relationship with the family members. So this stage, it should be handled in a proper way. And coming to the next stage, which is known as industry versus inferiority, there the age range is between 3 to 6 years. And here, what is the important event that is happening is the schooling is there. So the relationship is with the teachers, friends, and neighborhood. The child must learn to deal with new skills and develop a sense of achievement and accomplishment. And failure to do so leads to a sense of inferiority, failure, and incompetence. So after this only, that the next stage, that the initiative versus guilt is happening. And here, when the child passes through the stage of adolescence, there occurs the stage which can be titled as identity versus role confusion. So the age range is between 11 to 18 years, and the important event during this stage is social relationship and self-identity. And we can see that the relationship between the peers, it increases during this stage. Body image plays a huge role confusion about one's role in life, and there is failure to resolve the identity crisis, it leads to maldevelopment of the ego, sometimes may become a juvenile delinquent. So, this stage is the crucial period in the developmental stages. And here, how the child is developing or he is able to develop in a positive way. That is an important factor during this stage. As we know that during the adolescent stage, the circle of friends is increasing so that they have more attachment towards the peers. But here, the parents may feel that they are always trying to enter into conflict with the parents. And the next stage, that is intimacy versus isolation. So this stage, it is between the age 20 to 40 years, and the important event is parenting, and the relationship is with friends, lovers, and work connections. And in this stage, the individual must develop intimate relationships through work and social life. When there occurs any failure, there we can see that they tries to make connections which lead to exclusivity and isolation. So here, when after passing through the adolescent stage, they are trying to make some kind of role models. The role modeling of parents is very much important in this stage. And after that, when they entered the intimacy versus isolation stage, there we can see the occurrence of the parenting. So always there is a tendency of the females to pretend or to make use of the behavioral styles or the parenting styles of the mother, and for the male, they may look at the parenting style of the father. So here, the necessity of the parents to be a role model in front of their children. So if the stages are managed properly, we can say that the child is developing in a balanced development. If there occurs any crisis, some kind of maladaptive development we can observe among the children. And the next one, the generativity versus stagnation. The age range is between 40 to 65 years. The important event is retirement. And the relationship is with children and community. And we can see that each adult, they must find a way to satisfy, support, and contribute to society, guiding the next generation. And there may be a lot of time after the retirement. So how we are managing the time, that is the most important thing, what to do with the extra time. If any failure occurs, that leads to rejectivity. So every individual is going through these various stages, and we have to face all the stages. And when the stages are managed properly, there occurs a healthy developmental pattern. And normally, after the retirement, there may be less active on the part of the individual, but it may lead to some kind of rejectivity, that some kind of feeling that I am unwanted if the leisure time is not properly managed. So these are the various stages when we look to, and the next stage that we can see is integrity versus despair. And the age range, that is between 65 years and above. So we can see that this stage, the thing is the reflecting on the events and experiences of one's lifetime. So generally, there is a tendency to recollect what has happened in the earlier stages, and then they may be able to express very well about their experiences. And here, the relationship, more than the family members, it extends with all human beings, and the adults feel a sense of fulfillment about life. If all the stages are managed properly, they will have a sense of satisfaction and accept death as an unavoidable reality. There is no fear to face death, and the failure it leads to disdain. So, all the stages we have seen how we are facing the 8 stages. So, in this way, the 8 stages are elaborated by Erik Erikson in a very beautiful manner. And each stage is important, and the development of each stage should taken, or we have to provide more care for each stages. So here we can see that what is happening here, that each stage involves a psychological crisis of two opposing emotional forces. When we think of that, we can see that there are two opposing emotional forces. One may be in the positive and the other may be in the negative. So these two opposing emotional forces are termed as dispositions. So these dispositions is the term used by Erikson for these opposing forces, and each crisis stage relates to a corresponding life stages. And for the positive disposition, Erik Erikson used the term syntonic, where it denotes the positive disposition in each crisis, and for the negative disposition, he used the term dystonic. And when we look at the managing of each stage in a healthy manner, it will create a healthy development, a balanced development where one feels some kind of satisfaction in their life. When we passes through these various stages, and if we are not able to manage well, we don't do well, we may develop maladaptations or malignancies, as well as endangered all our future development. So, what is the term maladaptation and malignancy stood for? When we look at the malignancy involves too little of the positive and too much of negative. Whereas maladaptation, we can see too much of the positive and too little of the negative developmental aspects. So, here we can see elaborately that what is happening through each stage, what type of psychological crisis a person is going through. So, then let us discuss about the different maladaptations and malignancies what a person is going through. So, here the maladaptation, the sensory distortion. So, later it leads to sensory maladjustment. Then the crisis, the stage is trust versus mistrust. So, the malignancy will be withdrawal. And the next stage, autonomy versus shame. The maladaptation is impulsivity, or the later shameless or willfulness, and the malignancy, that is compulsion. And coming to the next stage, that is initiative versus guilt. There what we can see, the maladaptation is ruthlessness, whereas the malignancy, that is inhibition. And then coming to the next stage, industry versus inferiority, the maladaptation is narrow virtuosity and the malignancy is inertia. So each stage, how do we manage? That is an important thing. And what type of maladaptation is happening and malignancy is happening. When we look at the maladaptation, we know that there is too much of positive and too little of negative dispositions, whereas in the malignancy we can see the too much of the negative aspects, whereas too little of positive aspects. And coming to the next stage, what type of maladaptation and malignancies are developing? When we look at the stage, that is identity versus role confusion, there we can see that the maladaptation is fanaticism and the malignancy is repudiation. And coming to the next stage, that is intimacy versus isolation, there the maladaptation is promiscuity, whereas the malignancy is exclusivity. And coming to the next stage, that is generativity versus stagnation, the maladaptation is overextension and the malignancy is rejectivity. And coming to the last stage, that is integrity versus despair, there we can see that the maladaptation, that is presumption, and the malignancy is the disdain. So we have seen the different stages of psychosocial development. So each stage, that is the psychological crisis, the term used by Erik Erikson. So from the beginning, we have discussed about the Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, where he emphasized on the principle of epigenetic principle, where the development, it is unfolding through the 8 stages of development. And in these developmental stages, there are different kinds of the psychological crisis, and each crisis, if we are able to manage in a positive way, there occurs the balanced development. If we are unable to manage in a positive way, there occurs some kind of maladjustment or maladaptive behavior. So this is all about the Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial behavior, psychosocial development, not behavior, it is kind of development that all the individuals have to go through. And here we are going to take a break. After some time, we will come again to discuss about the psychosocial development of adolescents.
In the current global economy and digital era, learn or perish is the order of the day for all adults in all sectors of life. As a result, adult education and lifelong learning have assumed great significance. IGNOU as a national university has played its role by way of coming up with the Master of Arts in Adult Education program, MAAE.
MAAE program focuses on different aspects of theory and practice, policies and programs, as well as research, among other things related to adult education.
MAE is a 2-year modular program with multiple entry and exit options. Students who complete first year of the program will be awarded with the postgraduate diploma in adult education In case they want to continue, they will complete second year program and they will be awarded with the Master of Arts in Adult Education.
MAE program consists of 10 courses, 5 courses in each year, 8 theory courses, 6 credits worth, and 1 practical course of 10 credits in the first year and 1 dissertation course of 10 credits in the second year.
Practical course of MAE is divided into 3 components, namely community based practical activities, workshop based practical activities, and adult education training center or institution based practical activities, and the student has to complete all the 3 components for completion of this practical course.
The minimum qualification required for admission to this program is bachelor's degree from any recognized university. The minimum duration is 2 years and the maximum duration is 4 years.
Instructional system follows multimedia approach. The major medium of instruction is self-learning print materials, which is supplemented by other media such as audio-video programs, broadcasting, that is interactive radio counseling, teleconferencing, personal contact programs or counseling sessions at the study centers, workshops and field work as well as internship at the institutional level.
Those who seek out a master's degree in adult education have a myriad of career and specialization options. They can go further for higher studies, that is research in various fields of adult education, an adult literacy teacher, faculty in university departments of adult and continuing education, extension and lifelong learning. Field functionaries in the projects implemented by state and central governments as well as NGOs. For more details, you can log on to
www.ignou.ac.in.
Don't forget to take admission. Hurry up.
Welcome back to the next session. We have discussed about the psychosocial development of the children or the individuals who are passing through the various stages. And in this session, we are specifically focusing upon the psychosocial development of adolescents. And in the different stages, we have seen how an individual is passing through the various stages, that is the psychological crisis which was put forward by Erik Erikson. Then when we think of this psychosocial development, what does it mean? It denotes the personal and the social changes that occur within an individual based on the various contexts, that is the cultural and environmental factors are influencing the individual. So here, what are the personal changes that is happening and the social changes within the context of the cultural and environmental factors. And generally, when we speak of this adolescent stage, we know that each individual, it is passing through a turbulent period of life. This turbulent period of life, when we try to think of it, that the adolescent is experiencing various emotional difficulties. And what is happening in the mind of the child, that is, they want to attain identity and independence. And it is during this stage they seek for their own individuality and uniqueness. They want to become more independent and they want to consider them as more unique. For that, they try to get adult acceptance. And along with the adult acceptance, they need the peer approval also. So, this is happening among the adolescents. And when we think of this adolescence development and what are the characteristics they are undergoing during this stage, adolescent stage, we can classify these stages into three, that is the early adolescence, the middle adolescence and the late adolescence. This early adolescence, the age range, that is the approximate ages, is between 10 to 13 years, and the middle adolescence, that is the approximate age range, is between 14 to 17 years, and the late adolescence, the approximate age is between 18 to 21 years. So this is generally we can classify the stage of adolescence. So now let us discuss what is happening in each stage of these three distinct phases of development. And when we look at this stage, in these periodic classifications, we can see that several tasks that each adolescent has to attain. The one thing we can see that achieving independence from parents, that is a desire to get autonomy. So the independence from the parents is an important thing. At the same time, they adopt that peer approval. So their peer lifestyles, always they are looking at the peer. They need the peer recognition for each and every activity. Then we can see that assigning increased importance to body image and acceptance of one's body image, and then the establishment of sexual, ego, vocational and moral identities is taking place. So here in the stage, that is the early adolescence, we can see what are the characteristics features. When we look at the early adolescence, we can see that there is the rapid physical changes with the onset of puberty, and these physical changes engender self-absorption and initiate the adolescent struggle for independence. So here the onset of puberty, it may be occurring 1 to 2 years earlier for girls than boys. So the psychosocial and emotional changes also occur 1 to 2 years earlier in girls. So this is, we can see that the physical growth, the weight increase and the height, everything, sometimes we can see that the girls are attaining more speed than the boys. And coming to the next feature of this early adolescence, we can think of the independence and dependence degree, or what type of conflict or struggle they are going through their mind. So here the main events that is happening during this stage is less interest in parent activities and more reluctance to accept parental advice or criticism. They don't like parents criticizing in front of others, and there is emotional instability, the increased ability to express oneself through speech and search for new people for love in addition to parents. So, this type of independence dependent struggle is going through the mind of the early adolescents. Think of the body image concerns. When we think of this factor, we can see that because of the growth spurt, some kind of disappointment is happening in the mind of the adolescents, and they may be preoccupation with the self is happening, and they are uncertain about their appearance and attractiveness, and frequent comparison of own body and those of other adolescents. Always they may be standing in front of the mirror and taking their own size where they feel that their body growth is happening in a rapid manner. Then, during this early adolescence period, when we think of the peer group involvement, with the beginning of movement away from the family, the adolescent becomes more dependent on friend as a source of comfort. So here the solitary friendship with a member of the same sex is happening. The strongly emotional, tender feelings towards peers, which may lead to homosexual exploration, fears, and relationships. Peer contact primarily with the same sex and with some contact of the opposite sex made in group of friends. So here we can see that they like to make friends with the same sex. And then coming to the identity development. What type of identity development is happening is that they are always thinking of their own self. And here we can see that according to Piaget's cognitive theory, this identity development corresponds to the evolution from concrete thinking, that is the concrete operational thoughts, to abstract thinking, formal operational thoughts. During this time, the adolescent is expected to achieve academically and to prepare for the future. So, this is happening during the early adolescence stage. And there comes the importance of the stage of identity versus role confusion, which we have discussed in the previous session, that Erickson's identity versus role confusion. So here the struggle that is happening in the minds of the adolescents, that is, who am I? So this question, it includes various aspects such as the appearance, the vocational choices and career aspirations, education, relationships, sexuality, political and social views, personality, and interest. So here Erickson considered this period as a period of identity crisis as well as role confusion. They may think that whether they belong to the childhood stage, no. Whether they belong to the adulthood, it is no. And during this time, they experience a feeling of psychological moratorium. So here it is the identity related issues, the time span of the identity related issues that the adolescents experience. That is the psychological moratorium. The identity related issues, whether they can be a child, no, or whether they can be an adult, no. So this type of issues is developing during the psychological moratorium. So the adolescents, they attempt to discover their role, their identity in the society and they try to imitate several roles. So the role taking may be more. They try on the different roles that fit into their own views about their own self. Erikson termed this as the identity versus identity confusion stage, and developing a sense of identity has been generally considered as the main task of adolescence. So, here the training of the adolescents in that pattern is very much important. And characteristics of the identity development, we can see that it occurs that the increased ability to reason abstractly. Whatever we may talk with the adolescents, they were perceived through the eye of the reasoning. Then frequent daydreaming, their mind, their body may be present in the class, but they may be thinking they are going for the daydreaming. And then setting unrealistic goal which cannot be met, and testing authority is common behavior in adolescents as they attempt their behavior. They want to better define themselves and is often one cause of tension between the parents and the adolescents. So this conflict is taking place generally. And the next one, what we can see is there is a need for greater dependency and the emergence of the sexual feelings, how they feel, that romantic relationships, and the development of the adolescent's own value system we can see. And the lack of impulse control is another thing that we can see during this stage, and the tendency to magnify one's personal situation. So all these aspects is happening during the adolescent stage. And the next stage that is coming is the middle adolescence. The approximate age range is 14 to 16 years, and it is characterized by increased scope and intensity of feelings, and by the rise in importance of peer group values. Here also we are trying to elaborate based on the independence dependence struggle, the body image, and the peer involvement. So regarding the independence dependence struggle, there we can see that during this middle adolescent stage, conflict become more prevalent as the adolescent exhibits less interest in parents and devote more time within the peer circle. So whatever the peers are telling are true for them more than their own parents. So such type of situation is happening. And then regarding the body image concerns, there also we can see that they are less preoccupied with the changes. Although there is greater acceptance and comfort with the body, much time is spent trying to make it more attractive. In the early adolescence, we have seen that they are more concerned about their body image, but here they are more focusing upon how to make them more attractive towards the other peers. And because of the societal emphasis on youthful body image, eating disorders may also happen. So that we can see some issues such as the anorexia, bulimia. So all these things, they may think that they are having over obesity. So they try to reduce their obesity. So some kind of body disorders, body image disorders we can see among the adolescents during this middle adolescent stage. Regarding the peer group involvement, there we can see the intense involvement by the adolescents in the peer circle and conformity by the adolescents with the peer values. They always eagerly desire for the peer acceptance for each and everything, and they increase involvement in parenting relations manifested by the dating activity, the sexual experimentation and intercourse, involvement with the team sports, gangs, and other groups. So this is happening, and what about the identity development, that the ego development? We can see the development of the ego, which is characterized by the increased scope and openness of feelings with a new ability to examine the feelings of others. And there also occurs the increased intellectual ability, that they are able to do some puzzling situations or any harder, the difficult mathematical solutions. They find the solutions in an easy way. So this is happening during this middle adolescence. And more than that, the creativity on the part of the adolescents is also increasing. They are less idealistic vocational aspirations we can see among them, and a feeling of omnipotence and immortality leading to risk-taking behavior. Because of their development of the ego development, they are ready to take any risk taking in order to put a good figure in front of their peers. So this is always happening in the middle adolescent stage. Next coming, the next stage, that is during the adolescent stage, we are discussing the features based on the three stages, that is the early adolescence, middle adolescence and late adolescence. Coming to the late adolescence, that is from 18 to 21 years, which is the final phase of the adolescence struggle for identity and separation. So earlier, when we discussed about the early adolescent stage, there occurs the identity crisis, and they start asking questions such as, who am I? What do I stand for? And what is my future? What type of job I have to take? So this type of questioning is happening in the minds of the adolescents. And we can see that how this identity development is changing through the stages of the early adolescence, middle adolescence and late adolescence. And coming to this late adolescence, if all the previous stages they are able to proceed in a well-mannered way, so if they are getting the support of their parents and the teachers, so that the adolescents will be developing in a positive way and they are able to face the future boldly. So this is very much important during when the teachers are handling the adolescent child. And then regarding the independence and dependence struggle during the late adolescent stage, we can see some of the characteristics such as the firmer identity, the greater ability to delay gratification. Then that here the gratification is that they are thinking that if they are not getting the reward all on a sudden, in later stage they will get good reward and it persists for a longer time. And the next one, the better ability to think ideas through and express ideas in words, and they may take the stable interest, they have the more stable interest and greater ability to make independent decisions, and they are able to compromise when some kind of issues arises. So these are the features of the independence and dependent struggle. And then coming the body image concern, there we can see that they are less concerned with this process unless an abnormality has occurred. So they are very well aware about their pubertal growth and development, and if it is going in a smooth way, they are less concerned about the issues. And the next part that we are discussing is the peer group involvement during the late adolescent stage. We know that the peer conformity is important, and the peer group values, it become less important to late adolescents because they are become more comfortable with their own values. They have developed their own values and their stand. So during this, the late adolescent stage, that much pure acceptance is not much focus or much reflected, and more time is spent in a relationship with one person. Such relationship involve less exploitation and experimentation, and we can see there occurs more sharing. So we have seen how each of the aspects, that is the independence and dependence struggle, the body image and the peer group involvement, how the changes is happening during these three stages within the adolescent stage, that is the early adolescent stage, middle adolescent stage and the late adolescent stage. What type of identity development is taking during this late adolescent stage? There we can see the development of a rational and realistic existence. That type of conscience is developing in the mind of the adolescents. Then the development of a sense of perspective. They are able to take the perspective of others, and then the development of practical vocational goals and the beginning of financial independence and further refinement of moral, religious and sexual values. So this type of identity development is happening among the adolescents during the late adolescent stage. So when we look at the identity development during the early adolescent stage, that is very feeble. From that, during the middle adolescent stage, they have developed some kind of identity about their roles. They are having some kind of confusion. That is, the identity role confusion is happening among them. And during the late adolescent stage, they have developed their own identity and how to face the different aspects or realities of life. So, we have seen the psychosocial development which put forward by Erik Erikson, and in this session we have seen how the psychosocial development is happening among the adolescents. Thank you.